2015, 2016 work plan. What did we accomplish and what do we hope to accomplish?
Actually, this piece right here had to really connect up a little bit with the discussion we had earlier about adding things to, to the work plan. So I wanted to take this opportunity for the council to take a look at, for the commission to take a look at the what you all agreed to and what's posted on your webpage as to what your work plan is. So that, and like I said, there are new commissioners on board. I'm not assuming that all of you have caught up to speed on what the work plan looks like, but what was posted on your webpage and what evidently was approved by rules, at least that's what I was going to understand, is all the following meetings, dated from August 12th all the way through March 9th, that tell you what you've been doing so far. But the other piece of that is that you do have the months of April, May, and June that are left in completing all the tasks that you've assigned to yourselves as part of your work plan. So part of what I wanted to bring out was that there was not anywhere on this universal work plan any discussion involving San Jose Police Department and the incident that that was brought up today. Just be cognizant of the fact that you can't guess as to what's occurring for the whole 12 months, and there should be flexibility built into a work plan. But that is a rule that, with the exception that you may from time to time find that you need to take on at either your own request or the request of the community or the request of a department for you to look at, that this is really your blueprint for what you're going to be addressing. If you go down looking at the variety of different topics that you had discussions about and that you've been working on, you've already created a homelessness effort. You created a subcommittee, so you've done that. You've approved a process for the caucuses, which is one of your main priorities for this coming year. It looks like you went ahead and had a presentation on body cameras, which was actually something that was discussed the previous work cycle, that the chief of police wanted to come to before the commission to kind of give you a preview and an update as to what was going on with body cameras. So you've accomplished that. Illegal fireworks is one of your big discussion items from the previous work plan discussion, and that you wanted to have as a continuing item for this year, and I know council's been looking at that, so you've done work around that. Then you approved a community input process, which you're still working on and developing as you go forward. A neighborhood safety presentation with the Mayor's Gang Prevention Task Force. I wasn't here, so I don't know what that was about, or what you accomplished coming out of that, but it looks like you had that presentation then. So something came out of that. The auditor's annual presentation has been going on every year, and she actually looks forward to coming forward to the commission to listen to your feedback to her presentation. You're in the middle of developing at some length the budget documents that you're going to be moving forward on. So that's you're doing that. You're doing planning on the caucus process after you've approved the process. And so it would appear that you are where you need to be just from my looking at it. But I wanted to also look at it from the perspective of is there something that I'm missing here that you haven't done? I mean, the illegal dumping is an issue that actually isn't on your work plan that I can see, unless I'm missing it here. But somehow or other needs to be fit in as a product.
Right, I was gonna say.
It was in February.
On the version that we had here, I thought we were gonna be discussing illegal dumping this month and write up a report. We had a preliminary discussion about it. We put a very short sentence into the suggestion for the mayor's budget on it. But I thought we would do much more than just that to address illegal dumping. So, let's see, you were the one that wanted to discuss it?
Yeah, that was eliminated when the work plan was rewritten. The work plan that we submitted to staff was rewritten before it went to rules, and all of those extra meetings were eliminated.
So we had kind of developed a process. When we developed the work plan, we had thought that we would at one meeting raise the topic and then have people think about it, study it on their own. At the next meeting, we would discuss it thoroughly, and then at the third meeting, we would craft a letter that we'd send to the city council. So we had kind of a three-step process to the thing. And during the work plan to the city council, they eliminated the first step and said we will just include that in the discussion for future meetings. So the setup part went away because they didn't want to have us listing it as 3 items. We were told that we could discuss it at item F on the agenda, but we never get a chance to do item F on the agenda because we spent too much time talking about other things. And then we never realized that we do a follow-up meeting too. So we have to remember at the item F that we can continue on a discussion to the following month if we want to. So we still can do the 3-step process to do it. We just have to go through the parliamentary procedures. And we've been so rushed that we've kind of forgotten that. So we should have had on last month's agenda an item saying this month to continue discussion on illegal dumping. Since we didn't do that, let us put on the agenda for next month a continuation of the discussion on illegal dumping to decide what we want to send to City Council. I do want us to have some product that we can say we've thought about it. We didn't just sit here and talk amongst ourselves. We actually did something. We wanted to let the council know what we've been working on and what our concerns are. And illegal dumping is a concern, I understand, of many in the community here. Nobody's dumped anything on my front lawn, so I don't notice it. But it is a concern for the community, so we want to express that. So,
Can I suggest we get back to the matter at hand, which is to evaluate where we stand on the work plan? And the best way to do that would be to just tick down the list. I've got a whole bunch of notes here, so if we start in August, David's group and Nicole put together the work process document. That has vanished. It's been in the city for 6 months now, and we're waiting to hear if that's approved as is, whether it fits. So that thing is just sort of in suspense. In September, we went to the Brown Act, and Joe Horwedel and I were charged with putting together some clarifying questions, and we submitted those. Those have never come back either. If we go to November, illegal fireworks, basically nothing happened because the fire chief said there was nothing different. So that whole subject has kind of fallen off the table. The caucus process in February, we did a good job on that, but I just wanted to note that the website has a summary, the Neighborhoods Commission website has a summary about how that works, and it's the old process, 5 people elected, et cetera. So that needs to be brought up to date. In April, we have the auditor coming back for a follow-up meeting. I don't know that we've done any work to follow up. What are we going to communicate to her? Let me just finish. I got 2 more to go, and then we're set. And when we get into May, we're talking about doing the work plan for next year and some sort of work with new commissioners. However, I think since half of this commission is going to be replaced next year, establishing a work plan for people who don't get to vote on it is kind of a bad idea. So that's in May and June of next year, the future work plan.
So the new commissioner information, I was hoping would be that work product document, so that's how I was
That'd be
going to
great.
bring it back. So I mean, it sounds the work product, correct me if I'm wrong, that work product document is pretty much information for new commissioners on how we try to accomplish stuff. And you have been getting updates. I keep on hearing, I'm on the email exchange. You've been working with staff and
Trying to.
advising to.
No, not with staff, no.
Huh?
It's gone, it went away, it just vanished.
No, I'm saying it didn't vanish, it's still out there, being edited, right, David?
We're working on it.
We were invited,
Yeah, just the update on that, because I talked to Larry about that. Unfortunately, the dates that I mentioned for bringing the ad hoc committee on that document together, the only person that was able to attend was Larry. So everybody else had conflicts. So what Larry and I agreed was, and I talked to my boss about this, Zuma, was that we would try to set this meeting up here in March after we get a better sense of the availability of folks, because I know Commissioner Colstead was out of the country, there were conflicts for you, David. Larry was the only one that was available, and I didn't feel that a meeting with Larry by himself would really have a discussion that was meant to be with the ad hoc committee to kind of walk you through some of the concerns with the document, the way that it's currently written, what value we can bring. And so the purpose of the meeting, to sit down, is to really bring the ad hoc committee together with city administration, in this case, which is my boss, Zulma Maciel, who is an assistant to the city manager. We met as a team internally with the city attorney's office, and there were some concerns about the wording of the document that needs to be adjusted in order for it to make it viable. So it's not, so that discussion would be productive to have with the ad hoc committee, to walk through, so you can do the draft that will accommodate meeting the responsibilities legally, as opposed to just simply saying this document doesn't work.
And Nicole was on the ad hoc committee too.
Sorry?
I wrote the document with David, and I didn't get an invitation to that meeting.
Oh, well, it got a little confusing as to who was on the ad hoc and who wasn't on the ad hoc, and
She's
so.
on it.
Well,
Okay.
I'm on it, I wrote it, so you can
That's
include
why
it
I
in
keep
future
looking
meetings.
left and
Please.
right.
Thank
I'm
you.
pointing both ways when I'm,
Yeah, and like I said, I've inherited this process after it's been going through, so my job is to bring everybody together into a room, or as many as we can, realizing that this didn't work out because we just had the one person that I was aware of that could sit around, so we'll do a larger invite with the other groups, but this wasn't, this is just,
I mean,
I'm sorry?
So it's you and David and Pete, and who else?
two of us,
Wasn't there four?
Gary was copied and input.
Who was on the ad hoc committee?
It was me and David primarily, Pete, and Gary, Gary, no. Gary was in the loop.
And Norma.
Want to meet on it.
And
Oh, no, and not
And
Norma.
excuse me.
That was the confusing one, yeah.
I explained it to you guys before, I was not on that.
Okay,
Right.
so why don't we do this? Someone send me a listing of who needs to be at that meeting, because all I got was bits and pieces. And so that way I'll know who properly, and let's agree to do this. Whoever can attend will make this meeting happen, recognizing that if there are 7 different people involved, sometimes not everybody's gonna be able to get there. That's the only holdup with this. If there wasn't anything sinister about, well, we're not moving forward because we don't wanna sit down with you, it was just trying to get everybody in the same room at the same time with the limited listing that I had inherited. We'll get that cleared up and make the meeting happen in March sometime. So that's the next step with that. So it's not dropped, it just needs to be a conversation that I was directed for you guys to have with city administration to fine tune the document then.
And to be fair, as we learned more about 036, policy 036, 036 policy of comments from the city attorney and others, and as we're growing a little bit, I totally agree. It needs to be done together, and that's why I asked as a working document to go back. And it probably needs a fairly significant rewrite to capture the vision and spirit of this commission in partnership with the city.
Right, because legally there were some challenges
Yes.
that emerged in the way the document was written.
Yep, I agree.
And that's all I'm gonna say. I'd rather have the conversation with the members of the ad hoc committee, so that you can kind of get the breadth of what the observations were. So anyway, it's not a dropped ball, it's just a ball in motion at this point.
I'll send you the list of the people that raised their hands with interest.
Yeah, I don't want to disparage anybody by saying you weren't a part of the process, I just didn't know who was a part of the process. So,
And so for April, we have auditor follow-up, and that was for us to have an opportunity now to think of any questions, having listened to the auditor's report last month. Were there any questions that you had that you would want to get a follow-up on? Yes.
Since the auditor presented here to the commission, the audit's office has come out with a report or a set of recommendations for use of community volunteers for city services. And I think it was more or less focused on Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services, but at the same time, it sparks some ideas and opens the door for a discussion where community and city services might be able to work in partnership further on building community interest in volunteer work. Just a thought.
okay. All right,
So do we invite her back to talk about that? Are you making a request for that?
Only after talking with her to find out if she thinks she could add something to that process from the work she did on that report. If not, then not. So I could answer that question. I could talk to her and answer that question. If you have others, go ahead.
Any other questions for the auditor? We don't have, if she doesn't want to come back, so let us leave it that if she does want to talk about that, we can invite her, and you'll find out about that, and let Ernest know, but otherwise, we can eliminate that item from our work plan, if you don't have any other questions.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, if you want the auditor back in April, according to this, I'd need to let her know fairly quickly that she needs to be back here, and so, at this point, what are we talking about, just one question then?
Yeah, if there are no other questions, I don't know that that's enough of a reason to bring her back because her time is so valuable.
Right, and that, I agree with you, if it's just one question, it could be that the question could be in writing and sent to the auditor and simply have her respond to us as a
We had
commission.
put this item on the work plan originally in case we wanted input from the auditor to inform our budget letter. If we wanted to ask for financial audits to input into the budget, to ask about funding or lack of collected fees or other issues, that was, if we wanted to include that in a budget and we wanted to get real input from the auditor, this was our opportunity to put it in. That's why it was put on the work plan. But if we don't want to do that, I'm happy to eliminate that from our work plan.
Okay, well,
It's a little late for that. Make a motion to remove that from the work plan at this point.
Okay,
I second that.
discussion? All in favor of removing request of auditor, say aye. Aye. All in favor of keeping the auditor, say nay. I'm phrasing it. Right.
all right, so that's off of your standing items then.
Okay. And then we're also going to discuss illegal fireworks. We're going to follow up on that. The idea was to get a status report from the city to see if they're prepared for this next 4th of July. I think it was on our work plan for April.
I'll check with fire then.
I mean, do we want to follow up with the fireworks?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we should only discuss items that we are thinking of dropping, and fireworks is not one. I mean, unless, let people voice if you want something to come off, but.
So what I'm kind of doing is looking, I made item F what was missing on next month's agenda, because right now, next month's agenda does not mention fireworks, even though it was on the work plan, which is why I'm bringing it up now, to remind him to add it to our work plan, add it to the agenda since it is on our work plan. So,
I think fireworks is really important. I think it should be added officially to the work plan. I think next month's probably makes a lot of sense. I don't think that requires a motion. I think it's
it's
just.
part of our work
Yeah,
plan,
it is.
isn't it?
Yep. I'm very supportive of that.
It's on the officially posted work plan, yes. Robert?
I believe that we should maintain that as a work plan because of the fact that in Little Saigon, fireworks, a building got on fire. And it's a problem with neighborhood areas with fireworks. And we should maintain that as a work plan
Okay.
and work on it.
Okay, so it is on our officially posted work plan, but it does not appear on the next month's.
That's easy enough to fix.
Which is why I'm-
That's a moving item right there, it just,
Yes, David?
Thank you, Pete. He takes excellent notes here. The folks that raised their hand with interest in that issue were Nick, Desiree, Nicole, Dan, Joe, wherever you are, and from the public, Jeanette Rombeck. Those folks raised their hand with interest in participating on this issue. I know there's a discussion about ad hocs, but if we're going to have something here in the next meeting, maybe these folks should be allowed to get together, brainstorm, and come up with questions, ideas, or thoughts to present to the commission and to whoever comes from fire and safety. Does that make sense?
Yes.
it's up to you guys.
Yeah, you guys can informally meet, and it's less than a quorum, you can meet and discuss things and come up with ideas.
So on the agenda, there'll be an agenda item, and those people would
Have some questions?
give some input to us.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Larry, I couldn't tell what agenda you were referencing, and now I think that you were talking about item F on today's agenda.
So I'm kind of on item F, because I mean,
No,
that's
no,
what I
I
notes.
just, I don't think F is intended to be the agenda for next month. I think F is things were for today's meeting, so I don't think that there's an agenda for next month. It's
It's
for
April
April
13th meeting.
The item F is where we set the, you keep
Right.
asking, how do we get the items on the next month's
Right,
agenda?
okay.
Item F is how we put the item on the next month's agenda.
Okay, got it.
So do you think whatever is on item F and just next month,
Okay.
post it?
Okay.
So that's why I want to make sure that illegal fireworks is on it, because I don't want us to have this
Right,
discussion,
okay.
what happened to it? And the question is, do we also add illegal dumping on there? Do we want to do anything more on that? Or lost track? Is that another part on our thing for next month?
Did you hear the question?
Keith, do we want to do anything more on the illegal dumping
No.
next month? You don't want to do anything more?
No, we had to squeeze it all into one meeting. I mean,
Well, I'm giving you
Want
the
to give an
option
update
of having
about-
a second meeting if you
No.
want to.
no.
No, okay. Does anybody else want to do that? If not, we can remove illegal dumping from the next month's agenda. Okay. So let's see, what are we on the agenda? I've lost track. We are on item number 2, discussion of the work plan. Any other actions to take on the discussion of the work plan for next? Just a review of our work plan where we are. We have accomplished some things. We are on pace to do some other things. We're not too far behind, I think. We're on track. Pete, you're shaking your head no. Juan, you have your hand up. Pete, why are you shaking your head no?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, okay. Juan?
I'll just note that I'm waiting until F to
Ask.
make suggestions for
Okay,
next month's
sounds good.
meeting.
Okay, moving forward, then, anything more, Ernest, on work time?
No, this is helpful because it gives you a chance to also take a look at where, and answer some confusing things for me, like the illegal dumping and why it wasn't on the work plan, so now I understand. And I just want to be able to reflect that when I give a report to Neighborhood Services and Education as to what you have been doing. So to date, because I'll be doing that report next month. And this clarifies that and helps me put together that report then. So item 3 is the commission.
You want to talk anything more about
Actually, before we move about fireworks, I guess we're going to talk about fireworks next meeting.
next month?
Next month, and we're gonna have a presentation by,
Well, I'm gonna ask for someone to do a presentation. I think that's what you
We
requested.
don't need a fire department saying he's gonna ask us to not do fireworks. We don't need that talk again. What we want is a status update.
You want a status
city's
update.
Policies.
and someone that can listen and take input. And if that's going to be the case, then there's a bunch of us that you need, that we're going to be a part of that. I'm one of them. Who would like to coordinate that, I guess, and how will that activity happen? Because I'm happy to meet and be a part of that process and have a meeting prior to the meeting that we'll have next month, so that we'll be prepared for it and can give that individual some input about some alternatives and some things that we've been hearing from the community for quite some time.
Because I think we've already given our input. We just want to see if the city is following up on it now. Isn't that where we are?
Is that,
We gave a letter last year recommending a number of actions for them to take, and they were going to look at putting things in the city code and coming up with some changes, and now we're just checking to see how they're doing. It's one of the city's top priorities. They have the top 10 priorities, and this is one of them, so I want to see how, get a status of the area.
should it go the other way too, though, or does everyone feel comfortable as part of this commission that we've given enough input and that it's time to hear back from them, or should we be prepared to give additional input?
Yeah, I kind of going along that line, shouldn't people who are gonna act on that get together and do a sanity check, see where we are, so that when we, and maybe provide that input so that when the people come out from fire and safety, they got something, answer questions that the commission posed to them.
I just don't want that talk for a third time. I don't want to.
No, well, that's my point. So I mean, if we do, the ad hoc gets together, sees where they are now, and then what they want, specifically what they want from fire and safety when they come out, so we get what we want.
Okay. Who? David.
Taking a page from Pete's work with several agencies or several departments on illegal dumping, it may or may not be beneficial for Ernest to help put together one or two members from the ad hoc committee with someone from fire or that responsible department to kind of talk through what concerns are of the community, come from the community, and what progress has been made, so this isn't so stumbling in the process of presentation and questions, to help kind of team the effort so that it's a working process and partnership, if that's possible.
That sounds smart to me. How does that sound, Ernest, that you have somebody that would meet with the, see if I can reach.
Just a suggestion.
It sounds smart to me, since I'd like to be a part of that and volunteer to do so. A small group of us, our committee, meet with somebody from the fire department that can talk with us to help guide them, and also from us to guide that discussion. It's going to happen next month, so it is that first time presentation that inevitably will happen at that time.
Sounds good. So who's volunteering?
For the group?
So, is that what we're
Let's take the,
So I'm trying to keep track of what this discussion is. I think part of what you want to have agendized is some kind of a status update on preparation for illegal fireworks in the holidays. Okay, because this has been a standing item for this commission for a couple of years in a row now. But I'm also hearing somehow or other that a committee be formed to meet with a fire department representative to kind of mull over the things before it comes back to the commission of the whole. I think, in all fairness, you could probably agendize this item for presentation at a couple of meetings in a row without having to go to with a separate, smaller committee meeting, because then you run into once again, you add a meeting to the process. My suggestion to you would be to invite someone from the fire department here. If you're on the commission, you're gonna be here anyway, and you could voice your opinions, your concerns. You could give them things that they need to return, either in a month or so with answers, or to help them to kind of guide some policy development as they go into the holidays. I'm happy to accommodate what you want. I'm suggesting that you just add it to your agenda as an item for a couple of different meetings, so that you could ask fire department to come, a couple of times. But if you want to set up a separate committee meeting, and we'll try to coordinate that too, so it's up to you.
There is an advantage to that. Could I be recognized? There is an advantage to that, because then everybody, the entire commission, gets to weigh in on an important subject that I think is important to all 10 districts equally, and that would serve that broader interest. I'm happy to work and do another meeting. However, that would exclude folks, and then we could make progress that way, or we could do the suggestion, it would take 2 meetings though.
So why don't we just have on the agenda for next month a status update from the fire department of how they're coming along with implementing the changes that we've already recommended. We can suggest a few more things at that meeting. The main thing is to see if they're already implementing what we have asked.
Allowing time for broader discussion though.
Okay. I don't want the same 30-minute fire presentation. Okay, next item.